Hello, I'm O Speaks. If you're new here, please like, subscribe, share. Because why not? What do you got to lose? Anyway, again, I am O Speaks, also known as O Tatum Speaks. What's going on, TP? Today, I wanted to talk about something that's been going on for, oh man, since 2019 ish, somewhere around 2019. Um, and it's just come to a head, a really ugly head. A lot of nastiness and pus and all kind of stuff coming out of this bump. Um, sorry, that's disgusting. Um, a young lady named Gazelle Maxwell. Actually, you know what? Let me pull this up because I want to share this with. Oh, I just want to share a screen to preface everything. I want to show you guys what, not Giselle, Ghislaine. I want to show you guys what she was um, arrested for, and she was prosecuted and convicted. I just want to go over this really quick to set the stage for what we're going to watch today. Share screen. United States Attorney's Office, Southern District of New York. That's the screen I want to share. All right. So, this woman was convicted and sentenced to 20 years in prison, plus I think an additional 6. Could be wrong on that. Doesn't matter. Let's see what she was what happened. I don't know if I can blow this up. And you know what? I don't need you guys don't need to see my mug during this part. All right. Let's look and say today's sentence. Here we go. This is the allegations. This is the indictment. This is the official district attorneys of New York. This is their website, justice.gov, from at least 1994 up to and including or about 2004. Ghislaine Maxwell assisted, facilitated, and participated in Jeffrey Epstein's abuse of minor girls by, among other things, helping him recruit, groom, and ultimately abuse victims known to her and Epstein to be under 18. This is not all the victims. This is just the ones that were up under the age of 18. Victims were as young as 14 years old when they were groomed and abused by Maxwell and Epstein, both who knew their victims were in fact minors. As part of, you know what, I should probably do a trigger warning. This is going to be an annoying and a frustrating live stream because everything I'm reading seems to have no real resolution, and it's very, very frustrating. But before I get there, let me finish this. As part of and in furtherance of their scheme to abuse minor victims, Maxwell and Epstein enticed and caused minor victims to travel to Epstein's residences in different states, which Maxwell knew and intended would result in their grooming for and subjection to sexual abuse. Maxwell enticed and groomed minor girls to be abused in multiple ways. For example, Maxwell attempted to befriend certain victims by asking them about their lives, their schools, their families, and taking them to movies, shopping, trips, etc. She also acclimated victims to Epstein's conduct by being present for the victims' interactions with him, which put victims at ease, providing assurance and comfort of an adult woman who seemingly approved of his behavior. Additionally, Epstein offered to help some victims paying for travel, educational opportunities, and Maxwell encouraged certain victims to accept his assistance. As a result, victims were made to feel indebted and believed that Maxwell and Epstein were trying to help them. Maxwell also normalized and facilitated the SA, the abuse, for a victim by discussing sexual topics, undressing in front of the victims, being present when the victim was being undressed, and encouraged the victims to massage Epstein. Now, this goes on and on and on. You know what? Let's keep going. As Maxwell and Epstein intended, these grooming behaviors left minor victims vulnerable and susceptible to SA by Epstein. Maxwell then was then present for the certain SA or sexual encounters, we'll just say it, between minor victims and Epstein, such as interactions where a minor victim was undressed, ultimately was present for the acts perpetrated by Epstein on minor victims. Now, let me see. This is disgusting stuff. She was sentenced. This was in June of 2022. Let's go out of here. Let's back out of here. And let's go here. Present. This is very, very frustrating stuff. Annoying stuff. All right. This is an article that came out. I don't have a date here, but let's just skim through this really quick. Oh, this came out July 10th, so a couple days ago, 3 days ago. It says he had more than 1,000 victims, which is absolutely insane. Over more than 2 decades of trafficking, according to federal investigators. You know what? Let me make this big again so you guys can see. Far more than prosecutors alleged in 2019. In a 2-page published memo last week, Justice Department and FBI said a review of the case found no incriminating client list. This is what my live stream is going to be about today. So we saw, what's her name? Ms. Maxwell. She was convicted of SA and partaking in what this guy did. All right. I don't need to keep looking at that. That went on to talk about his islands and all of the stuff that was going on. There is so many holes and so many problems, more than just this, but including this. Just the Department of Justice and the FBI let America down again. That's why I don't believe in the government as far as transparency. I agree. I've always felt this way. The good thing is, not necessarily the good thing, but this is an opportunity for people to see that what I was saying before the election, people kept saying that I'm a Trump supporter, and I kept saying, no, Trump supports me. He's supposed to do what I say he has to do. If not, I will call him out. I am not a Trump supporter. Trump is a supporter of me and my ideas, and he's supposed to act out what I say. That's it. It's really, really simple. And in this aspect, he has failed. He's done really well in some areas, economy, on the border, absolutely on the border, immigration. But this one here is huge, and I want to explain why it's huge. Absolutely, they work for us. We don't work for them. You have a woman who was sentenced on all these charges, and it seems like they want us to believe it was just this one guy who perpetrated acts. It was between 1,000 and 10,000 girls, or at least 10,000 interactions. So it could be the same girls multiple times, but up to 10,000 interactions with these girls. We know for a fact, because they had the manifests of people who traveled. What's going on, Brooklyn lady? Of people who traveled to his islands. He had 2 islands. A lot of people think he only had 1. He actually had 2 islands. They have manifests. They know that people took these flights. We don't know why they went. We know some people went a lot of times. We know he had the largest home, or the largest available home, in Manhattan. No one knows how he made this money. So what I want to start doing is talking about, I want to go over an interview that Kash Patel did with Joe Rogan first. And then I want to get to the current day, because about 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, Kash Patel was on Joe Rogan's, and he kind of laid out what was going on. But you're also going to see how ignorant he was to the actual topic. And that's what really had me like, how does this guy not know stuff that I know? He's got Dan Bongino, who was a podcaster, a very popular, famous, a huge podcaster who's had inside, we'll just say intel. He's had people inside the government for the last 8 years, maybe longer. Actually, no, he was pretty big during the, what's going on, Paul Thomas? He was pretty big during the Obama administration. So this guy's been around since 2008. all of a sudden he doesn't know any of these details. So I want to play. We're going to start with the Cash Patel interview. Like I said, it's not the whole thing. It's just the parts that are covering this whole Epstein thing, because it doesn't make sense. It's frustrating. And Donald Trump is acting as if it's really weird. He's acting like he doesn't understand why we are frustrated. And by we, I mean people like me, MAGA. I understand why the conservatives, the so-called conservatives, they don't care. They say they do, but they're still mad about they're still mad about Ron DeSantis losing. So they're hoping Trump fails in every aspect of this administration, which is really disgusting. Which is why I don't like Republicans, and I definitely don't like Democrats, but Republicans are just as bad. They're all about politics. They just want to win. They don't care about actually doing anything. That's why they hated Donald Trump. That's why they hate Donald Trump. That's why they caused panic and tried to say everyone's going to see now that he's destroying the economy with these fake tariffs and he doesn't know what he's doing. How'd that go? Where's all that talk? Anyway, but on this topic, I 100% disagree with how Trump's handling it, with what he said about it, his dismissiveness of it, because he ran on it. You run on something, I expect you to follow through. He's followed through on almost everything else. The Democrats, not so surprisingly, they don't seem to care about this issue. They're really quiet, except to say, well, Trump must have been on there. That's why he's not releasing. Okay. So they will make politics out of anything. But why are they all so quiet on this issue? This is really, really wild to watch. So let's listen to Cash Patel and how ignorant he is on the topic. And I did learn some things because I had expectations of him that may not have been realistic. So you guys can see where we all were probably a little unrealistic on what he can do. He's going to shed some light on that. But this is frustrating, to say the least. What's going on, Brooklyn?
Look at
Lady
what
Ellie?
I have done and what we have done. That's the guy that's now in charge of the FBI. His leadership team is in place. We've got great partners at DOJ. We're the ones working on all this stuff. And and look, let's just get to it because I know it's on people's minds. Epstein, right? The reason people are pissed off about that is the same thing, right? 20 years ago or whenever it was, 2006, 7, 8, Epstein gets his sweetheart plea deal, right?
Right.
After committing the most horrific crimes on planet Earth, right? I wasn't in power there. I wasn't in place there. I had, nothing to do with it. But people were rightfully pissed. I mean, this guy was committing the most grotesque acts you can against children. And the media spins up about it. Many in the media protected him. Why? Because of his relationships, who he knew, who his bankers were, who his colleagues were, who was on the island and stuff like that. Some pretty powerful human beings. And so when you peel back the layer and then what happened? The Trump administration, the last go around, decided, no, we're not going to let that go. We're going to investigate him, right? They charge him, they indict him, and he's awaiting trial. And I've said it, Dan Bongino said it, we've reviewed all the information, and the American public is going to get as much as we can release. He killed himself.
There's the type of wording. These are all smart people. None of them are dumb. Maybe ignorant, but they're not dumb. As much as we can release. I'm going to keep pointing out when he uses words like that, because I think you can release it all. Obviously, you're not going to release the actual acts and what he's doing to these kids. But I think you can release, I don't know, who was on the island, who took all these flights, for what reason, the manifests. They say they don't want to unfairly, I forget the language. It'll come up in the end. I don't want to misquote it. But they don't essentially want people to think something of some people that may have visited this guy or hung out with this guy. I say, well, then tell us why they're there. Really simple. People say, oh, Trump was there, and he says he was never on the island. We could find out. But it is known that Trump banned that guy from I think, all of his golf courses. There was a reason. Something happened. I don't know. Maybe did the guy try to blackmail him? Was it really because he's a creep? Can we find out? Why not? Why not? Why does everything have to be a secret?
Do you think, let's play out the logical conclusion of this. Do you think that myself, Bongino, and others would participate in hiding information about Epstein's grotesque activities? Or do you think we would also participate in not prosecuting people we had evidence to prosecute people on? But the problem is there's been like 15 years of people coming in and creating fictions about this that doesn't exist. Where's the videotape of an Epstein Island of X, Y, and Z committing these frauds? Why haven't you given it to us? Do you really think I wouldn't give that to you if it existed? I'm working my ass off along with the leadership at the Bureau and DOJ to get you what we're allowed to give you.
What we're allowed to give you. Again, I don't like this approach that he's taking. I like him. I like Bongino, but they keep saying, hey, don't you think I'd let you know if I knew? No, I don't. You're in the government. These guys have spent years and years and years saying that we need transparency. We need transparency. Cool. Now you're in the government. You're saying, hey, if it was there, don't you think I would release it? No, I don't. That's why I just need you to release it. We were told there were tens of thousands of hours of footage of that island, security footage. I don't care if it's blank. And I said this about January 6th when they wouldn't release all the footage because there was tens of thousands of hours of nothing happening. I don't care if there's nothing happening. Release it all so I can see. What ended up happening with January 6th? Oh, we started seeing fist bumps from Capitol Police and some of the rioters. And then we find out, 26 of those rioters actually worked for or were assisting the FBI or the CIA, or they were just involved in some way. They were assets, is what they call it. Okay, that would have been really nice to know on January 7th because they spent years saying that it was a riot and it was MAGA and it was a plan and it was the Proud Boys and it was all these things. And it turns out the agitators, 26 of them, worked for the federal government. Would have been nice to know. They arrested so many people on trespassing and left them there for 4 years and then cried when they were let out. This is insanity. So we're not supposed to just trust the government. These are the same people who gave us Russiagate. Operation Fast and Furious. Can't say the word. When Obama was in office, where they literally lost thousands of guns. Why should we trust? I like you, Mr. Patel. I don't trust you. You need to maintain that trust by giving me information that you said you were going to give. And this one right here is extremely important. They were supposed to release everything on JFK, MLK, and the Epstein files. I want to know what's going on. It's really simple. Like I kind of get the JFK thing. Not anymore, but I kind of get why they did what they did. We had a coup in this country, and they don't want everyone to know we had a coup in this country. Israel played a role in that, and they don't really want us to say, you know what, let them deal with their issues on their own. We no longer support them. So it's sensitive. But everybody involved is dead. Release it all. Everyone knows that most of this anyway. We just want confirmation. Because this right here, what Miss Ellie said, I don't believe ours was the only government. Absolutely not. We weren't the only government involved. I want to know who was. Are we still funding stuff? Why are we still funding stuff if they participated in a coup? They propped up MLK, rightfully in my opinion, but they propped him up, but the government thought he was a communist. I want to know what they thought of him, why they thought of him, and why he ended up assassinated. Why? Explain, please. We have a right to know. You work for me. I put this man in office. Not by myself, but people like me. I spent hours and hours and hours telling other people about this guy because he said, we're going to get to the bottom of this Epstein thing. Last time we had the whole Hillary locker up, it was whatever. But He didn't do it, and we accepted it because we could blame the swamp. He didn't have the right people behind him. Now we know his entire cabinet. They have the ability to do this, and they're choosing not to. I want to know why.
And you're going to get the video of the cell, and you're going to see for yourself. And we will never be able to convince everyone.
We got the video. What's going on, writers? We got the video now, and there's a minute missing. They enhanced video. They released the enhanced video, and they say they're going to release the unenhanced video, so we know there's nothing going on. There's a minute missing. I just want to know why. And that video is not the only video they have. They have the island's security footage. Release blank tapes. I don't care. Just release it all. That is real transparency. Them sitting there deciding for us, saying, you guys don't need to see this. It's not important. You don't have the right to make that decision for me. I'll decide if it's important. If they're all blank, I'll say, oh, I don't think it was important. If they're all blank, I may say, wait a minute. You're telling me nobody was ever there? Let me decide. Oh, Pam Bondi. Oh, Paul. Paul saw me earlier or yesterday, whenever in another chat, said, I hope you go over this. I had already had this video laid out, edited, ready to go. But I want footage. Yep, it wasn't his door. It was outside. What they say is the only way to get to his cell. Can I see the other side? Can I see the other side? I just want it all released. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but stuff like this makes me speculate, makes everyone speculate, which creates conspiracy theories.
Okay, let's get into that. So, what did you think before you got in office? Did you think that Epstein was murdered?
No.
No suspicion at all of it?
But I have a different background, right?
Right.
So I was a public defender back in the day. I used to spend a lot of time in jails and a lot of time in segregated housing units, SHUs as we call them, right? And so, and I've known people that have committed suicide in these cells. And I know how you get in, how you get out, who works the system. And so the way, based on public information at the time, that he ended up, the pictures and him hanging himself, I was like, man, that guy killed himself. There's just no way.
No way.
You could have run an op and had people go into that cell and not have any video of it and not have any people come out and say, hey, yeah, I saw that guy. He shouldn't have been there, the guard or this guy. There's just no access points into places like this in the detention center he was in, which I
agree with you, Cash Patel, which is why we're trying to figure out how he was killed. You're making the point. There's no way any of this, all this could have happened. There was a lot of coincidences. You had the guards falling asleep. You had the video footage that still has missing. I think it was. I think it's a minute. I could be wrong. There's a point in there that was cut off. It's not there. The actual footage of his cell is not there. It's gone. So I agree. There's no way this could have happened. So what did happen? Because there are people who disagree with what your conclusion was, Mr. Patel. Let us make that same determination with the same confidence that you have
been in.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but what I was told, what I'd read, was that the guards were not paying attention or were sleeping.
Well,
right?
And in short order, you'll see it.
Is that correct?
Well, it's hard to surmise that from a video, right? Like,
right.
Where they and look, do guards doze off on the night shift? Yeah. But no one can get in to the cell. And if they had gotten in to the cell, you would see it.
But
this is beyond naivete. Because he's assuming that they're not in on it. No one can get in. Well, maybe they fell asleep. I don't know if there were guards that fell asleep. I was told there was people who fell asleep. I don't know. Or maybe he just got paid. Like, he's acting like there's just no way.
We were told that the cameras were down.
Well, I don't know who said that.
But that was in the news.
Yeah, the cameras were down, which is why, Miss Ellie, they don't have video of the cell. They only have video, supposedly, of the only way going in. What's up, Miss Phoenix? That's all they have. But this guy who's investigating it, and this is only a few weeks ago, still didn't know that? How does Joe Rogan know this? How do I know this? How do most of the people in this chat know this?
We're giving you all the footage we have.
So why wasn't that released like immediately?
There it is again. We're giving you the footage we have. What happened to the footage we don't have? Why don't we have it? When was it taken down? Why did that? How are the cameras off conveniently during this time frame? Especially when we know the guy tried to supposedly commit suicide weeks before. In my opinion, well, you know what? We'll get there.
Immediately. Why did this speculation escalate?
I think you'd have to ask whoever the attorney general back then was, Bill Barr.
Did you ever see, do you remember that HBO autopsy show? Dr. Michael Baden, he's a famous forensic
I don't think I've seen
scientist. So he's a pathologist, and he reviewed the case, and it was his determination that it was a homicide because of the way his neck was broken. And what he said was it was indicative of a ligature strangulation. And it was because of the positioning on the neck where the marks were, that it wasn't indicative of someone hanging by their weight, which had been higher on the chin. And there's a specific break of the bones and the vertebrae that's consistent with someone who is just strangled to death.
I haven't seen it. I'll definitely take a look at it.
Well, how has he not seen that? This is like 3 weeks ago. You guys were coming to a close on this investigation. You still hadn't seen that? Like, it's his job. It's his job to look at everything. And he hadn't seen it. He already has his mind made up. This is what makes Joe Rogan so powerful. He knows a little about a lot of things. So he's like, well, wait a minute. If I know about this, you're the head of the FBI, dude.
Because that's part of my job.
You haven't seen that?
The report on that? No, I haven't looked at that.
Did you see any?
What makes that report at least worth looking at is Epstein's brother hired the guy. What's going on, Ms. Just J? Epstein's brother hired the guy. The guy was a famous autopsy guy. He used to work for the New York coroner's office or whatever it's called. He's credible. He says, I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen the whatever Joe Rogan just explained. I've never seen this before. This is not consistent with suicide.
Was there any other autopsy done other than the official one?
Not to my knowledge, but if there was, you'll get it. And that's what we're doing.
See if you can find that Dr. Michael Baden thing.
Yeah. No,
Did you remember that show, the HBO show?
No.
Pretty cool show.
Yeah.
So this guy, Dr. Michael Baden, he had a long career of catching murderers, exhuming bodies, finding trace amounts of poisons, different kinds of things. And it was a crazy show, like all these wild ways.
Well, I love watching shows, and I spend a lot of time on planes. So.
Yeah, it was an old show. It was a show like from the early 2000s, I believe. But this guy was like, this very well-respected forensic scientist who would analyze these bodies, and it was his determination that he was murdered.
Yeah. And my job, going back to the core of what I've been doing since I studied Russiagate, was to get, is to get everybody the information.
When did you get here? Epstein's autopsy points to homicide. Pathologist hired by brother claims. New York City medical examiner strongly disputed the claim that the evidence from the autopsy suggested strangulation. So let's go to by the way, this is the New York Times, and they never lie. The private pathologist, Dr. Michael Baden, said of the morning TV show Fox and Friends, Mr. Epstein experienced a number of injuries, among them a broken bone in his neck, that are extremely unusual in suicidal hangings and could occur much more commonly in homicidal strangulation. I think the evidence points to homicide rather than suicide, said Dr. Baden, who observed the autopsy done by city officials. Dr. Baden, a former New York City medical examiner and a Fox News contributor, said, I have not seen in 50 years where that occurred in suicidal hanging case.
So right after, actually, while this was happening, his people should have been looking this up and sending this to his email box or in his notes or whatever they need to do to make sure he looks into this, because this is important. This is all legitimate. This is all credible. Hey, we need to look at this.
Findings by Dr. Baden were strongly disputed by the city's chief medical examiner, Dr. Barbara Sampson, who previously ruled that Mr. Epstein's death on August 10th in the Metropolitan Correctional Center was a suicide. I stand firmly behind our determination of the cause and manner of death in this case, Dr. Sampson said in the interview on Wednesday. She added,
why would she admit, yeah, I could be wrong? Of course she's going to dispute it. So I want Kash Patel to look at it. That's all. I just want him to, he should know everything that everyone else knows in and out. He should know it all.
In general, fractures of the hyoid bone and cartilage can be seen in suicides and homicides. The hyoid bone is near the Adam's apple. Dr. Sampson also dismissed Dr. Baden's contention that the circumstances around Mr. Epstein's death suggested other people may have been involved. She said her office had done a complete investigation, taking into consideration information gathered by law enforcement in making the determination.
So this is a perfect example of going back to my public defender and prosecutor days.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we call a war of experts. You can always find someone to come in and say the opposite.
Right.
And I used to do it all the time. I mean, I represented some of the worst humans that you can possibly imagine on earth. Literally. The guys that were trafficking children from Mexico into America. And
guess who was trafficking children? Epstein. We get it. You want to come across as neutral. Then still look at the other experts' findings and make your determination. Don't say, that's just another expert. They're just, I don't know what you think they are. You think they're conspiracy theories?
You could put up a professional expert to say, and this is what's going to go on forever. And my job is not the forever. My job is to get you absolutely everything that we can give you. And that's what we're going to do.
When did you become aware of this video that showed that no one had gone in and out of the cell?
Recently.
So why was it recent, though? I mean, if this death was, how long ago was this death? 2 years?
2019.
2019?
2019.
Oh, really? Why time flies.
So all of a sudden they find a video that, of course, they're going to enhance for us from 2019. It's just floating around. Nobody knew about it. How does the head of the FBI not know about it until now? Like this is so absurd.
So 6 years.
Well, again, that's part of what I'm going to try to answer for you.
Jeffrey Epstein jail CCTV erased by technical errors. Whoopsies.
Yeah.
Whoops.
But you see how anybody on the outside, I mean, this is like a perfect storm.
Yeah.
For something. Can you pull that article up so we can read what it says, Jamie? U.S. prosecutor said the jail mistakenly saved footage from the wrong cell. Sorry. Epstein, a convicted sex offender, first tried to kill himself in July last year and hanged himself in jail.
Hang on.
Yep.
Reread that line.
That he first tried to kill himself in July of last year. Yeah.
How much of the American public do you think knows that?
I didn't know that until right now.
I knew that.
Maybe I heard it and forgot.
I knew that. But here's my whole theory on that. I think they put that out so when he did die or commit suicide, it wasn't as big of a shock. That's a perfect thing to say. That's a perfect thing to say. They accept technical issues. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Those technical issues. It's gone. But we have other footage that shows the path to lead into his cell. We don't need the right footage. It's from they recorded footage from the wrong cell, and apparently that overrode the footage from his cell. Like it doesn't make sense because it's wrong. It's false.
Did you ever hear it, Jamie?
Well, that's why he's on suicide watch, I think.
Oh, okay.
So a
Hanged
guy
himself in jail in August while serving trial on federal.
He's on suicide watch. Sorry, I keep pausing. But he was on suicide watch, and listen to the perfect storm. He's on suicide watch because they say he tried to commit suicide. I'm gonna have to probably blur those words, or not bleep those words out. He was on unalive watch, because he supposedly tried to do it 2 weeks earlier, right? So then they get him in a different spot, and they lose the footage to his cell. They lose a minute of the footage of the path to his cell. They keep the footage of the path to his cell. We didn't find it until apparently this year. Guard falls asleep. So we have footage erased and then cameras that weren't even on. Technical issues. But this is we're supposed to just ignore all of that.
sex trafficking charge. He pleaded not guilty to abusing dozens of girls, some as young as 14.
Yeah.
Soon after Epstein's death in August, 2 of the CCTV cameras outside his cell had malfunctioned and were being examined by the FBI. Found semi-conscious in his prison cell with injuries on his neck. On 25 of July, after this incident, he's placed on suicide watch.
I'm not saying every single camera in the place was working. I'm saying we've got footage and you're getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And
what difference does it make if it's not the right footage? And if he's not guilty, why would he try to off himself? Off, good word. I'm gonna use that one because I keep saying the S word. His brother said there's no way he would try to off himself because he was so arrogant and so narcissistic that he would have been way overconfident that he was going to get off again because he'd gotten off in the past. He actually gained billions of dollars. No one knows where that money came from after being convicted. And he got a sweetheart deal. Just that they released him.
Then you can make up your own mind. And the theories can continue. But my job...
So you became aware of this footage recently?
The ones that we're looking at, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but this is like an article from quite a while ago that was saying that the footage was mistakenly erased.
Look, I mean, it goes back to the same... Ask the people that were in power then. I mean, I get it that...
You asked the people.
You want to hold me to account for their actions? And
Yes. Subpoena them. Bring them before an arbitration judge or some kind of judge, some kind of system where you can bring them in. They can't lie to you. It's against the law to lie to a federal officer. And ask them, where is this footage? What happened? What really happened? Ask them. Why are you telling us to go ask them? It's insane. You have to ask them. No, you're the one investigating. You have to ask. Dude, what are you talking about? Ask them. He's telling the American people to ask the people who were in office before him. And he's in office. He was appointed.
No, I'm not saying,
you. Not you.
I'm not saying that.
Not you. Just the public in general.
No,
that's okay.
you.
What's confusing to everybody today, first of all, it's very confusing because AI can kind of make anything.
Yes.
You know, which has got to be a bizarre position for you to be in when you're looking at videos. I mean, I've watched Viking videos. It looked real as fuck, you know? They just make Viking towns. I mean, it's really quite incredible what they're doing now, and it accelerates every month. I mean, I talked to Elon about it, and he said we're blown away literally every week. Every week there's some new breakthrough that we're like, wow, we didn't expect that.
Well, I can tell you after having looked at it, this ain't going to be AI.
You don't think so?
You're going to, it's just not great. You know, it's like if it were AI, like someone wanted to come in and make it, they'd make it better.
But why would you make it better when people could, you know, you could have ambiguous footage that is, you know, totally generated by AI. I mean, AI can generate blurry images. AI can generate night vision. AI can generate essentially anything that's already existed, like really shitty 1984 VHS tapes. They can do that.
They can. But I'm telling you, I'm giving you the tape from the tape.
Yeah, they can. But I just followed this account on IG. Let me see if I can find it. And it's silly. What it is it's like 90s VHS footage. What's the name of it? Crap. It's like 90s VHS dating footage. Let me see if I can find it. If I can't find it, we'll just skip over it. But it's like fake tapes, like dating tapes of people, giving like their profile. Hi, IMO speaks. You know, 6 foot tall. I'm from Chicago. I live in like that kind of thing. It's really funny, but it looks old. It looks legitimate. He just shrugged that off when Rogan said, "Hey, they can do footage that looks like old VHS tapes." I know for a fact because I follow an account that does that, and the footage looks old, really old. It looks like VHS footage.
You know, there's just like I'm giving you the documents from the vault, just like I'm giving you information to Congress on COVID origins or what have you. What we find is what you're getting.
Okay, so now it's saying 2019, missing jail video from the first Jeffrey Epstein suicide. So for the first attempt has been found. So maybe, let's put it into perspective, jails are not the most efficient, best run places. It's not like...
Fort Knox.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
It's, yeah.
You know, we're working with what we got.
Right.
So, and listen, this guy's not the only guy to kill himself in prison. It happens, I don't know how often.
Right.
All the time.
I don't like that shrugging off because this was a very high profile under Bill Barr. They, according to them, he tried to off himself a few weeks before that. So they should be on high alert. All the cameras should be like to suggest happens all the time. This is not a normal case. This was a case for the ages. This is a child trafficking, SA, SO, all kind of offenses and assaults. Like, this is not normal. They said from 1,000 girls to 10,000 girls, or incidents. I don't want to say girls. From 1,000 incidents to 10,000 incidents over all of his properties, including the islands. So to shrug it off, people kill themselves all the time. Like, dude, no, this is not a normal case.
Even if he killed himself in prison. So if he was murdered in prison, crazy, right?
Yeah.
You could see why very powerful people wouldn't
If
want
he
him
was
talking.
murdered in segregated housing, in isolation, after being on suicide watch in a place in a detention center that I've physically been in myself, it would be fiction. It's just, in my experience, that is not doable.
It's not doable even for the most powerful and wealthiest people in the world.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think, though, that like if someone was in a position where a guy could release information that could potentially damage the most wealthy people on Earth, you would have a concerted effort that's unprecedented.
Sure.
You would have the resources that we couldn't even possibly comprehend, all pointing towards eliminating this one person that it could be done.
But I mean, so many people have been implicated, right, already. And some of that information, what they did to Prince Andrew and everybody else is already out there. And so that's the conspiracy stuff that me and Bongino and the folks have to say, look, we will give you everything we can, then we will have done our job. Also, if I had a shred, me, Cash Patel, had a shred of evidence, the Russiagate guy, the Jan 6 guy, the COVID origins guy, had a shred of evidence that this guy was murdered, I would be the first guy to bring this case hard and fast. And I would even doing press conferences every week on it. Mm-hmm. The first guy. That's what I'm asking people to play out to their logical conclusion. I'm not.
He's doing it again. Trust me. Come on, guys. It's me. It's me, Cash Patel. Trust me. It's me. The January 6th guy. The Russiagate guy. The COVID guy. It's me. You have to believe me on this one.
I'm not Comey. I'm not McCabe. I'm not the guy that was in the seat before. I have a wildly different background. I've been putting out the truth my entire career. Why would I risk all of it on this guy?
I believe you. Catch the letter.
Oh, yeah.
I believe you. I just think that, the problem is we've been fuming on this conspiracy for so long. And we love conspiracies, don't we?
No,
as a country,
it's
there's
good,
so
right?
much fun.
I mean, they make
JFK tapes. Come on, like release the documents. We all love them. We love them. We love UFO ones. We love everything. We love the craziest conspiracies. They're exciting. We don't want to hear that he tried to kill himself in July and then succeeded in August. And look, I could imagine why the guy wanted to kill himself. He was going to jail for the rest of his fucking life, and in jail, sex offenders for children are not treated well.
And also, by the way, most Americans haven't, nor should they. Have you ever spent 1 minute in segregated housing?
No.
It's the worst.
So what's segregated housing? What are we talking about here? What are we doing here? His brother said the opposite of what Rogan just said. His brother said he thought he would get off. He was an arrogant, extreme narcissist with billions of dollars and was able to blackmail everybody and get off on this same type of crime before. He thought he pled not guilty. So we assume he was going away for the rest of his life, but he gotten off on this before. So why are we assuming now that he was scared and he was going to do this? Doesn't make sense.
Absolute worst. Like, you and your background, you could probably handle it, right? Like, just in all reality. Most Americans, you put them in there for 5 seconds, they're going to slam their head against the wall. Literally. They're going to lose their mind.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
It's that bad.
I'm sure. I could only imagine. And I could only imagine this guy knowing that it's over. And what do you want to do? Do you want to...
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
then
who knows who the fuck he's working for? Let's just put that aside. Now, if you're working for... Let's just... We don't have to name names. We don't have to speculate. If he's working for some agency, some group, some foreign group, and they decide to target his family because he's going to jail for the rest of his life anyway. They decide to target his family if he testifies against them. I could see where if I thought that it was like I'm going to be in jail for the rest of my life, or I tell and my family winds up being killed or destroyed, or who knows. Maybe you'd say, look, the honorable thing is to end it in prison.
So Joe Rogan is attributing him as being an honorable person. I would say I'm an honorable person. Most people in this chat are probably honorable people. He's comparing that to Jeffrey Epstein and saying, I could put myself in his position. No, you can't. He's not honorable. He had between 1,000 and 10,000 incidents with underage girls. There's nothing honorable about him. He's a sociopath. He's a narcissist. He's extremely wealthy. And he's a criminal. And he's a predator. That's what he did. Why would you attribute or project our honorable senses onto this guy and say, yeah, I could see how he could do it? No, you can't. You can't.
Honorable, cowardly thing.
Cowardly, whatever it is. Like, you just
also,
decide.
At some point, that guy was going back into Gen Pop. And the one...
Was he a coward? No. He outright in front of the world committed the worst possible acts, got away with it, took pictures with all the wealthiest people in the world, flaunted it. He got them on his planes, the Lolita Express. He got them to go to his island. He's not a coward. He was really, really upfront about what he was doing, and he got off on it before. He's not honorable, and he's not a coward. He's not. He was blatantly doing this in front of people. He was flaunting it.
Thing I'll tell you about prison systems is the people they eat are child predators.
Yes.
And he was going to get eaten.
Well known. Yeah. And they probably wouldn't have protected him. Yeah. So the narrative has always been that there's video. Now, what is the chain of custody? Is there evidence that there is video? Is there evidence that it was moved around, stored, protected from people looking at it? Like,
you're going to get all that information. Like, that's literally what we're putting together. And we're going to give you every single thing we have and can. And that's the whole point. We can't.
Every single thing we have and can't
fill gaps by making stuff up. And we're not going to do that.
And you have to be methodical.
And we have to be, that's the other thing, right? We're reviewing not just the video, we're reviewing everything as meticulously as we can, because that's what we owe the American people. That's our job. And I don't want to rush to the sticks or the podium and just say, hey, look what we found.
Right.
And then be like, oh, sorry, I forgot the 4 seconds. If we miss 4 seconds, and be like, oh, well, it's in the 4 seconds you missed.
You missed a minute. Just saying.
Right.
So I'm
How much can you talk about what you've seen?
Not yet. Just what I've told you.
Can you say you've seen anything?
No, that's the point. That there's nothing in there. Like
nothing
in the video.
in there.
You guys would be bored.
You talking about the video of the murder or the suicide?
The suicide.
But what about the video from the island?
Oh, sorry. So you're talking about two different things. So
sorry.
So again, we're going to give you everything we can, and people have to remember, we're not going to re-victimize women. We're not going to put that shit back out there. It's not.
In 2025, you don't have to re-victimize women or girls. You can simply blur out stuff. You don't have to show the actual acts. You can show people going in. You can show people coming out. You can blur out the young ladies and the victims. I don't understand this argument. What's going on, Easy? I don't understand this argument. We're not going to re-victimize these people, so we'll just keep this information from you. No. We're in an age where there's a thing just came out like 2 weeks ago called editing. Edit it out. It's really, really simple, actually. His team, I don't care how many hours it is, could probably get that new editing thing done and release the. You don't have to stop the footage. You just blur. I'm not saying cut anything. Don't cut anything out. Just edit it. It's not that difficult.
Not happening, because then he wins.
Not
doing it. You want to
Let me go back. Hold on. Because that's just stupid.
board.
You talking about the video of the murder or the suicide?
The suicide.
But what about the video from the island?
Oh, sorry. So you're talking about two different
Yes.
things. So
sorry.
So again, we're going to give you everything we can, and people have to remember, we're not going to re-victimize women. We're not going to put that shit back out there. It's not happening, because then he wins. Not doing it.
What does he win? What does he win? I hate when they say stuff like that. Like I said, he wins. He's not a school shooter who has a manifesto to show the world how powerful he was. That's not this guy. He's not even alive. What do you mean he wins? The American people win if we see that you guys actually did your job. He wins.
You want to hate me for it? Fine. Again, logical play out. If there was a video of some guy or gal committing felonies on an island and I'm in charge, don't you think you'd see it?
Then what are the things you're not going to show us and re-victimize people with if there's no video? I don't understand. There is videos of felonies. You just said it. You just said you don't want to show us. Now you're saying if there was a video, don't you think I'd show it? It's me, guys. This is so stupid.
If you have access to it.
If I have it, period.
Right.
If I have it.
So.
Where else would it be?
Right. If you have it.
Right.
But you can't say that you have it.
No, we're giving you everything we have.
So far.
Everything we have so far is.
Have you guys gone over all the video that's available?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. That's what takes so much damn time.
Right.
And
is there video from the island?
Not of what you want. The people out there have filled the void with can't wait to see X, Y, or Z.
Right, speculation.
And I'm like,
I don't care if it's blank. I don't care if it's landscaping. I don't care if it's just security. Release all of the footage. Why leave these gaps in knowledge? I don't understand this thought process. You don't want to see that. How can you tell me what I want to see? I want to see the maids going in, cleaning. I want to see everything. Then I could say, oh, looks like nothing happened. But to sit there and say it's not what you want. Yeah, listen to it. Not what you want. How do you know what I want? How are you going to tell me what I want? I want to see it all. I don't want you to tell me that you know what I want.
here's the other thing I've been asking for, right? Openly. If you have information on this, call us. Tell us. The best resource we have is the American people in the world.
The best resource you have is Bill Barr, who was a Republican in office appointed in the AG position, so one position above you. That's the best person. That's the best information you can get from him. He's still alive, as far as I can tell. Go to your predecessors, ask them questions. They cannot lie to you legally. If they do, guess what happens? You can then bring them up on charges. This is called pressing. It's a thing the police just made up like 2 weeks ago. It's called pressing. It's really simple. You press them for information.
Right.
Get me the tail numbers. Get me the flight. Get me new information, and I will run that down.
So
yeah.
This narrative might not be accurate, that there's video of these guys doing this.
Exactly.
Is it possible that the video was taken and destroyed?
Well, you're talking about, decades worth of stuff, right? Remember, we have what we have pursuant to lawful search warrants and authorities from the case that was done however many years ago it was done. That's what we have. If other people have other stuff and they want to give it to us, bring it.
Press them. I don't think he's alive. Um, his family, his family actually thinks he's alive, which tells me he's not alive because his brother wouldn't be trying to prove or his family wouldn't be trying to prove that he was not um, unalived, that he did not off himself. They wouldn't be trying to make everyone aware that he was too arrogant to be not alive anymore. They wouldn't do that. Why would they bring attention to that? That's the only reason why I don't think so. He definitely had relationships with very, very, very high power people in the CIA, in Mossad, FBI. I don't understand why he's not pressing former people in the government for information. Well, we have everything we could get with warrants. Okay, so how far back did those go? 5 years? He died 6 years ago. So you're telling us you have nothing, which makes sense as to why you would come forward and say, we have nothing. You're not even going to try to look.
Have you guys reviewed everything that you have?
Almost. Yes, we have, and now we're figuring out how to put it out.
Now, I understand that you would never re-victimize these women and show this footage, but is there footage?
Outside of the only thing I can say right now is if there was footage of anyone doing anything else, we would have opened a case.
Is it possible that there was footage that you just will never have access to because they've already gotten rid of it?
I mean, anything's possible, right?
Well, there was a long time, right, between the time when it was clear that Kamala lost the election and that Trump won.
Yeah, I mean, I got to
before
hear
he got into office.
I got to hear 100 days ago, literally.
Right,
So,
exactly. It's just kind of crazy.
So I'm doing what I can, and that's this type of stuff, and I'm happy to talk about it and bring it up. But what I'm trying to achieve at the Bureau is not only are we doing what's of public interest, what's of great public interest, our biggest job is to defend the homeland and stop kids from dying. That's my biggest job. And that's what I'm focused on. And I think we can do all of those things, and we're doing them really well. And I think if you give us just like another 100 days, it's not a lot of time. I just hit my 100-day mark like 2 days ago.
Right.
You're going to see a ton of stuff. You're already seeing it. If you're willing to use Mickey Mouse journalism, if you're willing to use the Fusion GPSs and Christopher Steele's of the world, like the leadership at the FBI then did, then it has a chance to replicate itself. And that's what happened. I don't know if you know anything about the Southern Poverty Law Center, but they literally are the ones that sent information to the FBI, and the FBI said, we'll write a memo. And so that's the type of work that I think gives credibility back to the Bureau, us exposing it, us giving Congress the truth, Congress coming back in and saying, hey, you actually didn't give us the Heisman. You gave us the documents. We gave them to the American people. And if there are criminal referrals to come out of that, then let's do that. I mean, we just had a great breakthrough this week on Fauci. So Senator Rand Paul, Senator Kennedy, and I hate naming names because I always forget people, are doing a great job with us on COVID origins. And we've got multiple investigations open on that. But they had always been looking for Fauci's original phone, or not original, but phones and devices he used while he was Fauci back in Trump 1 during COVID. And nobody had found it till 2 days ago.
Till 2 days ago, after he was pardoned, conveniently outside of any statute of limitations. Perfect.
Really?
Yeah. Now, look. Your audience and everybody listening to it shouldn't jump to the conclusion everything's in there. We'll look at it, we'll pull it, we'll rip it, as we say, and maybe it's deleted, maybe it's not. But at least we found it, and at least.
But nothing's going to be done, and this is the problem that America has with these kinds of investigations. You're going to release this information, nothing's going to be done. Fauci's going to be at the next Dodgers game.
Now we can tell the American people we've been looking, because it is of public importance to figure out, did that guy lie? Did he intentionally mislead the world and cause countless deaths? We owe those answers to the American people. And the best.
Okay, so he caused millions of people's deaths, but he was pardoned by an old guy. If you didn't see my video on the auto pen, please go watch that. Because there was a staffer, not an even appointee, a staffer who was allowed to use the auto pen and sign Joe Biden's name. So we have Fauci, who very, very potentially could be responsible for millions of deaths. Greatest mass murder of one person ever. Genghis Khan would be envious of this guy, right? But we have an old guy who's very well staffer could have signed his name and freed him of any ability to be charged for millions of deaths. Is that justice? You're going to show us his phone? You think that's enough? I want him in handcuffs and I want him on death row. At least. But to say, hey, we're getting to the bottom of it. This is the kind of administration we want to be. One that can't do anything. Your hands are completely tied by a staffer from Joe Biden because she used an auto pen and admitted to the world that she was allowed to use the auto pen. If you haven't seen that video, it's short. It's really short. It's 8 minutes. I have a staffer admitting that she was allowed to use Joe Biden's signature and sign stuff while he wasn't even in town.
Evidence ever is always the people's evidence who created it. And so now we're going to go and exploit those hard drives. But I think a victory for the American people that we broke with Congress is that we did find it. We're not done. We're still looking. And we're on the case. So whether it's Richmond Catholic memo, whether it's Fauci COVID origins, whatever becomes of great Russiagate, Crossfire Hurricane, whatever becomes of great public importance, that's a big part of what we do at the FBI too.
People ask me all the time, are these cases closed? And whether they're closed administratively is irrelevant. If new tips come in, we're absolutely going to follow them. And that's why I always put out, if you have additional information, please let us know. Those two cases obviously are of significant public interest. There is nothing in the file at this point on the Epstein case. And there's going to be a disclosure on this coming shortly. We are working through there is video. That is something the public does not.
There's video of him killing himself.
No, not the actual act, but the entire MCC Bay, it was only one camera. There's video that when you look at the video, and we will release, that's what's taken a while on this, we are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans. You're going to see there's no one there but him. There's no DNA. There's no audio. There's no fingerprints. There's no suspects. There's no accomplices. There's no tips. There is nothing. If you have it, I'm happy to see it.
Then why is Ghislaine or however you say her name, Maxwell, in prison for 20 years? You have nothing on her? Or you only have stuff on her and not on Epstein? Who are the victims? The 1,000 to 10,000 incidents that happened. They were all done by Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we're supposed to believe. Ghislaine Maxwell set all this stuff up and none of it happened. There's no proof that any of it happened. That's what he's saying. That's what Kash Patel was saying. This is Dan Bongino. Before he got this position, he worked for the Secret Service. He had a huge podcast. He has information. But for him to say what he's saying right now does not line up with what has already been publicly released. We have a woman sitting in prison for 20 years. She was convicted of doing all these things with all these girls. With who? It was just Epstein? It was human trafficking from her to Epstein. That's it? No one else did anything. This is it doesn't make sense. And when stuff doesn't make sense, it's not true. 9 times out of 10, it's not true. Or something's being left out. We're not getting the whole story. So we just went from Kash Patel saying we're going to release everything we can, but we're not going to re-victimize people, to Dan Bongino now saying there's nothing there. What's going on, Mel? There's nothing there. There's no DNA. Let me go back just a little bit.
Audio. There's no fingerprints. There's no suspects. There's no accomplices. There's no tips. There is nothing. If you have it, I'm happy to see it. There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out.
General in the FBI.
Okay, so maybe what he was saying was only in reference to that cell. Because there's no way he was talking about there's no evidence for anything else. The problem is now they're saying there's no evidence for anything else.
FBI director pledged at the president's direction to do an exhaustive review of all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and his death. And they put out a memo in conclusion of that review. There was material they did not release because, frankly, it was incredibly graphic and it contained child pornography, which is not something that's appropriate for public consumption.
I would take a whole picture where the human beings were completely blurred out. You can't see no features, no anything, no clothes, nothing. You can't see anything but just blur. I would take that because then I know what it is. But for them to decide, oh, this is not stuff you want to see, it's extremely graphic. You don't have to show the graphic stuff. What you should do is release the information so we can be more comfortable in understanding of, okay, I see why they don't want to release that. But for them to say that there's nothing there, I don't understand that. I really don't. He may have seen the actual cell footage. We weren't shown that, or could have been there is, according to all reports, there is no cell footage. It's just the path leading in there.
The U.S. Department of Justice and the FBI, under President Donald Trump, say they found no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein maintained a so-called client list to blackmail powerful individuals. According to a memo, authorities concluded that Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide, rejecting widespread murder theories. In response, the Trump administration plans to release video footage both raw and enhanced, which it claims shows no one entered Epstein's Manhattan prison area the night he died in 2019.
How do we know that that's when he died, other than they told us that? How do we know, because we're not seeing the actual cell footage, that it's even the right path leading to the cell? This is causing, it's going to cause more questions than answers.
Officials say the video evidence backs the medical examiner's ruling that Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide. According to the memo, investigators closely reviewed footage from Epstein's Manhattan prison cell starting around 10:40 p.m. on August 9th, 2019, when he was last locked inside. He was found unresponsive the next morning at around 6:30 a.m., another controversial point in the memo. The DOJ and FBI say no further disclosure of Epstein-related material is appropriate or warranted. They argue much of the content involves child sexual abuse, sensitive details about Epstein's victims, and information that could unfairly implicate innocent individuals in alleged wrongdoing.
DOJ and FBI have now concluded there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list. What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable, and I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. And the Trump administration is committed to truth and to transparency. That's why the Attorney General and the FBI Director pledged at the President's direction to do an exhaustive review of all of
An exhaustive review where they didn't know basic things that Joe Rogan was asking about, like the other autopsy. Did you speak to that guy? Did you look at his findings? Did you have a new medical examiner at least read his findings and compare them to what the medical examiner of New York, or wherever they were, I think it was New York, did you compare those findings? Did you find an independent person to look at it, or are you just saying, we need to close this? This is getting too much attention. It's wasting our time because this is not something we think is important. That's what it sounds like.
the files related to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and his death, and they put out a memo in conclusion of that review. There was material they did not release because, frankly, it was incredibly graphic and it contained child pornography, which is not something that's appropriate for public consumption. But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that. That's transparency.
Follow up on that,
Sure.
Caroline. Okay, so the FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
I knew just.
And I'm actually with her on that. She never said she had the client list, but I would like to see the manifests, the plain manifests. I would like to know who visited the island and why. I would like to know what other purposes there were for going to that Epstein Island. What's the purpose of taking the Lolita Express? He literally had people flown onto this island for what? Why were they going there? What kind of parties were they? Were they fundraisers? What was the point of the party? Birthday parties? What was it? I would like to know this. And again, you don't have to show graphic photos of, trying to phrase this. You don't have to be detailed on what's on these photos. You blur it all out. Not all of it, but blur out what's obvious. Leave the photo alone and just blur out the human beings. You don't have to re-victimize anybody. But why were they there? What was the entertainment? Was there music? Who played? Who paid the band? What did the band see? This is why I would like to see landscapers, security, have all of these people been questioned by the federal government and pressed? Hey, if you lie to us, it's a federal offense. What was the entertainment at this place? They're focusing on just the cell. It's really interesting. They're not going into any of the details I just brought up. Who were the pilots? What did the pilots see? They have to fill out a manifest. They have the manifests. How were these people invited? Where are the invites? Do you have on the computer? Who developed? If you paid a graphic designer, a graphic artist to make flyers, e-flyers, and send them out, who made those? What did it say on the invite? What was the purpose of the event? I want to know all of this, and it doesn't seem like they're interested in telling us, because all of these little things are other human beings and other sets of eyes that could say, I did see this. It doesn't seem like they want that. And that creates conspiracy theories right there. Dishonesty creates conspiracy theories. This is why people are frustrated, especially on the right, because we've wanted this information. They turned this thing called Pizzagate into a conspiracy theory, and they ignore that the pizza shop literally had stuff that happened there. You got to be careful when you're talking about underage stuff. But Pizzagate was real. So what they did was they said, "Oh, that's a QAnon thing." There's crazy people over on 4chan and 8chan. That's just a conspiracy. They shrug everything off as conspiracies, and then they make you forget that, hey, something actually happened at this shop. There are still websites to this day that you can go to see furniture extremely overpriced that's clearly referencing young people and their features. And I'm being careful. I'm trying. I'm trying. There are websites that can be looked into where they appear to be trafficking. And we'll just say that it's out there, but they turn it into yes. No. What they do is they say, there's this we'll just say dining room chair, and it costs $10,000, and it's brand new, and they use language, and it's like, oh, this is talking about a person, this is talking about a human being, and then they'll give the color, and they give all these descriptions. It's like, oh, why is this chair $10,000? And it's out there. This stuff is out there, and they've done a really good job of cracking down on a lot of this. In the first administration, Trump caught a lot of these people. They just now arrested like 60 people here in Houston for trafficking of underage people. So they're doing stuff. What I don't like is the label of it being a conspiracy, and why this is just being shrugged off as, well, we looked at everything. You looked at everything? You questioned all the people who had ever been to that island? You're telling me? You questioned all of them, and nobody came up with anything else that would implicate Epstein and other people that he was entertaining, because he clearly was entertaining people. In New York, he had 2 homes. I think he had one in Florida, and I know he had 2 islands. Nobody knows what happened with these parties. It's like Diddy parties. Nobody knows anything. I was there, but I left. Everybody left Diddy parties. All of them left. Everybody. Nobody ever stayed. Like, this is, come on, what are we doing? Clearly, in my opinion, he had footage of high-powered people, and they smacked him down. And now he's got these 2 little charges, and he's going to do a little bit of time for these charges because he's being smacked down to reality. But I don't think he was anywhere near the scale of what Epstein was into, because Diddy was dealing with Hollywood and music. Epstein was dealing with all politics. Billionaires. 2 of the same essence. It's what they were doing. They both were doing the same thing, but they were just doing it to different people. And they're both gonna, let's see, nobody knows what goes on behind the scenes. And apparently they don't want you to know, because they're saying, it's too graphic. It's horrible. We don't want to re-victimize people. But we were told on both of these cases that there was hours and hours and hours of video. But we'll never see. Police confiscated all this stuff from Diddy's homes. And okay, are we going to find out what it was? Nope. Police confiscated all this stuff from Epstein Island. Are we going to find out any of it? Nope.
Justice Department memo reveals that the Justice Department has no evidence that convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein blackmailed powerful people, or kept a client list, or was murdered in prison. The memo, first reported by Axios, is a sharp turn from the Trump administration's insistence that there was much more to uncover. Even Attorney General Pam Bondi pushed that theory while in office. Take a look.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump.
But today, the White House says she didn't really mean to suggest that the list itself was on her desk.
She was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that.
I can see that. The problem is they passed out binders with different phases of the Epstein rollout. And she's one of the people who passed out the binders. This is phase 1. We're just now getting started. And now here we are, they're closing it out. No phase 2. So she brought this all on herself. On that specific instance, I can see how she was referring to, she's looking at everything, because they did say JFK, MLK, and Epstein client list. And she said, I'm looking at that. That's on my desk. I don't fault her or blame her for that. I do blame her for the rollout of making us think that they were going to release something and then saying, nothing to see here. Have you ever seen South Park? The old South Park, there was a police officer. Every time something was happening, move along. There's nothing to say here. Everything could be on fire, and he would be saying that.
Joining us now to discuss CNN's Evan Perez and Axios' Alex Eisenstadt, who broke the story on Axios. And Alex, I have to say, I'm with the people that still have questions about this. I kind of don't buy the nothing to see here, and I don't know that the justice.
Now he has his trepidation is a little bit different from mine. He just likes that Trump, the administration had a failure, and he wants to push now all of a sudden because now he wants to do real journalism. Mine is I don't like that we're essentially refusing to look into something. It feels like that because I don't think that they've had enough time to interview all the people that they need to interview. And if somebody does not want to talk, you force them to talk. You press them. They do it to people in the street all the time. They press them. You can't lie, or you will be brought up on charges. What were you doing at Epstein Island on May 3rd, 2004? Why were you there? I don't know. You don't know why you were on a tropical island? You don't remember anything about it? Were you invited? Like, press them. We deserve the truth. So what I don't like is all the CNN stuff that I'm about to play is them essentially happy that it's no longer going to be looked at. And now again, they want to do this fake journalism thing because it's a failure on the administration. And make no mistake about it, this is a failure on the administration.
Justice Department helped their case. They released this video. Let's show it. It shows no one entered the area surrounding Epstein's cell in the hours before he died. But there's something significant about this videotape. What is it?
Well, here's one thing that some people on the internet are picking up on, which is that there is about a minute missing between 11:58 p.m. 58 seconds and 12 a.m. the night that Epstein was apparently killed or died. And so
the official story is that he died by suicide. That's
correct.
What then Trump Attorney General Bill Barr said a few years ago.
Died. And so now there are, it's going to intensify more conspiracy theories about what happened the night of Epstein's death. And of course,
why wouldn't it bring more conspiracy theories if there's a minute missing of the footage that they said they enhanced and they said they had the original? This is what Bongino said. We're going to release the original and an enhanced version, so you guys know we didn't do anything, and there's a minute missing from both. Minute and a half missing from both. You didn't think people would notice?
You have the DOJ and FBI now, which are trying to extinguish a lot of these conspiracy theories, but that's not happened today online. If you look at the MAGAverse, they're inflamed about this.
Well, I mean, no offense to Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, but they had a hand in igniting some of these conflagrations. I mean, in February, the White House invited these conservative MAGA influencers to get a first look at the declassified documents related to the Epstein case. Look at that, all those binders. They gave them.
That's the phase one binders I was saying. But again, this is going to be CNN doing a victory lap because now they can go back to what they do best. And that's go after Trump. And my question is, how did Trump allow himself to be put in this position when they're doing so much that's good?
Binders that said Epstein Files Phase 1. And Evan, at the time, you wrote that this is something of a self-own for the Justice Department. Why?
It absolutely was. Those binders, those documents in those binders, all of that was public for years. And that's what the influencers found out. When they opened it up, they're like, wait a minute, all of this stuff has been out there. And the Justice Department could have helped themselves and perhaps reduce the embarrassment if they had just picked up the phone and talked to some of the prosecutors in New York and some of the FBI agents who had done this case, and they could have told them all of this stuff has been out there. But you know why they didn't do that is because they fired all these people. So they didn't have anybody to talk to, right? And so, this is something that they have absolutely fanned. And so now they own this. And that is part of the problem here. And they've been struggling with what to do about this, Jake, for some time because agents spent overnight shifts redacting these documents, and then what they ended up with were pages that were filled with blackout.
Yeah.
They cannot release it because it would re-victimize some of the victims. Under federal law, there's a Privacy Act. So that's what they were facing. They were realizing that they were going to release a bunch of black pages that would have only fanned the conspiracy.
And Alex, A lot of people in the MAGA world are very upset, very disappointed with Attorney General Bondi, very upset with the director and deputy director of the FBI, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. Mike Lindell of MyPillow fame posted on X, as trusted voices like Bongino, Kash, and Bondi align with the official story. Many are asking who's still willing to demand real answers. Laura Loomer, who I only cite because apparently she has influence with President Trump.
Gets people fired.
She got national.
Well, she unalived herself too. Of course, because that's what happens to everybody. Everybody. And I don't know. I don't know about this, Paul. I don't know. He's been really good since coming down that escalator, that he's really had his finger on the pulse of what people want. And this time he's just off. Just like COVID, when COVID was more like he didn't want to admit that something he did was not popular. This one is something that he just doesn't think that people care about. And I don't know why, because again, he ran on it. People care about this because it implicates people of power. And those people should not still be in power if they were doing these horrible things with underage, with minors. They should not be in power. They should not still be walking around free. This is just like the whole border thing. We want people grabbed, arrested, deported. We don't want them just walking around to do whatever they want to do. In this case, it's worse because we don't want people who have done these horrible, horrific things to be just still not just walking around, but in power, in luxury.
Security Council people fired. She posted, if Attorney General Bondi doesn't get fired over this Epstein memo, people are going to be so black-pilled. They were obviously hoping for a different outcome. And I have to say, Alex, I find it hard to believe that we still don't know so much about this case.
Yeah, and I don't think the conspiracy theories are ever going to stop. But big picture, this is sort of what happens when you have the MAGA influencerization of the DOJ and the FBI, right? You put Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, who before going into the FBI were MAGA influencers.
Talking about this stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so now they come in and their high expectations, they were going to deliver, and they came up empty-handed. And so there's a lot of anger about that. And the MAGA universe is not happy today.
It's not about them being podcasts or influencers, because they both held public office before. It's about gaining or creating credibility and then coming to us trying to use that credibility to dismiss something. Hey, it's me. If there was something there, I would show you, but there's not. So move along, people. That's where the real issue is. And I still have hope for those two. Bondi, I don't know. I just think there should have been, I don't think there's enough arrests happening with high-powered people when we know high-powered people did criminal things. We know for a fact the former head of the FBI, former head of the CIA, lied under oath. They have a whole different standard. Why aren't they being held to anything? We have former head of the FBI putting 86 the president. Like, really? Is that what we're doing here? And nothing happens to him. He smiles while he does stuff like that.
Well, after months of teasing the release of new information about the accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and his alleged client list, the Justice Department, well, they're now saying that no evidence or such a list actually existed, or that Epstein was murdered. The DOJ saying it does not plan to release any new documents on the matter, and writing today in a memo, quote, there was also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged parties. Joining me now is CNN senior justice correspondent.
So what that said, that says they didn't uncover evidence that could even start an investigation against anybody else. So they did not look as deep as they could have, because they're saying there was not enough evidence to look into anything. If they did what I said and interview everybody, there's still people who were working on that island up till somebody else bought it. Who pays you? When did you get hired? Who interviewed you? Did you ever work any parties? Like, did they do that? No, they didn't do that. They don't want to do that.
Uncharged parties. Joining me now is CNN senior justice correspondent Evan Perez and CNN legal analyst Elliot Williams.
This guy on the left, I don't know his name. That's little sissy with the glasses. He is enjoying this because he's a far, far leftist, and nothing makes him happier than towing the line. And listen to this guy. He's the worst.
Evan, you've reported on this for, I think, years on some level now. Tell us how this memo kind of came to be, how this case became such a fixation.
Well, the case became a fixation in part because the Attorney General and other people around President Trump have fanned the flames of this conspiracy, that there was some bombshell hidden in these Epstein documents.
Wrong. The case became a fixation because you have one man and one woman who are being accused of anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 acts against minors. That's what made this case a fixation. Nothing else. And one man mysteriously had footage disappeared, employees falling asleep, gaps in the footage that they did have, and he was unalived. And another one gets sentenced to 20 years for apparently nothing, because they say there's nothing to see here. That's why there's a fixation. It has nothing to do with what Trump said. It's nothing to do with Bondi. Like, I don't know how a reporter or a journalist can look at it the way he's looking at it. It doesn't make sense.
And everyone has known, certainly a lot of the documents that the Justice Department has been looking at, they've been out in public already for years, because you remember some of his co-defendants went on trial after his 2019 suicide. So this is no surprise to anyone who's been paying attention, but for people inside the Justice Department who certainly encourage this kind of belief out there, they're now having to admit that there's really no there. And you see in the memo, it says the systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. There was also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions, or that he was murdered. Again, all of these things were known. It's just that there was a certain part of the internet, and certainly on Twitter, a lot of MAGA believers who believed that there was something here that was being hidden.
Yeah, and look, the White House, I think on some level, was active participants at some elements of those corners of the internet. What did the White House say about this case earlier today?
Well, today they had to react to the fact that just a couple of months ago, the Attorney General on Fox News seemed to indicate that there was a client list sitting on her desk. And now what they're saying, what she's referring to is just that she was looking at the larger number of documents that were out there. And again, they held an event at the White House where they brought in all the MAGA influencers to look at these binders, which ended up being documents that had been on the internet and had been available publicly for years.
Elliot, before I ask you a question, I want to play that sound that Evan was just talking about. Take a listen.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Elliot used to work for the Justice Department, and Attorney General is saying that.
There goes the system.
And then a memo like this coming into the public sphere. What does it tell you about what happened here?
It's embarrassing what happened here, Phil. Look, the Attorney General, and this is to Evan's point a moment ago, sort of fanned the flames of these truly bonkers, I won't say the full word, conspiracy theories that have been allowed to infiltrate not just American life, but also the government at the highest levels. There are basic facts here that we ought to accept. Number one, Jeffrey Epstein did really bad things to many people. And number two, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself in prison before he could face trial. Those are facts. That is truth. Any suggestion to the contrary is simply not held by serious people. And the Attorney General herself, quite frankly, is responsible for allowing some of this nonsense to get out there. Now, thankfully, the Justice Department has put this memorandum out there, but this is just a bad look for the Justice Department. It's actually quite shameful.
Source. What's going on, Mike Nice? That guy is happy not knowing or knowing and no one else knowing what's really going on. That's just bat crazy conspiracy theory. Everybody knows there's nothing else there. So now what do we have? Now we have Pam Bondi and a rift between her and Bongino, which potentially has caused Kash Patel to join in on this.
Is detailing the ongoing clash over a fight that could cost someone their job. Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi clashing with the FBI number 2 official Dan Bongino. As everybody who follows these kind of stories knows, technically the AG oversees the FBI, but if you remember Comey or other strong-willed FBI officials, when you're at that number 1, number 2 level, they sometimes fight with the DOJ. Sources say Bongino is so upset about all this, he's saying maybe he'll just leave, which would be a very quick tenure, by the way. And he would be leaving in a sort of protest or criticism of Bondi's handling of the Epstein files. Other outside agitators, including Tucker Carlson, saying she's lost confidence. Maybe she has to go. He was not at work today, reportedly. Sources also say Bondi and Bongino got into a heated clash Wednesday in a high-level meeting with him, her, FBI Director Patel, and Donald Trump's number 1 person who tracks all this stuff and makes the big staffing decisions, Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, who, of course, also ran the Victoria's campaign. Axios has a report on this where Pam says her piece, Dan says his piece, didn't end on friendly terms. Bongino left angry. And you don't need to be a scholar of reporting or Watergate level intrigue to know somebody in this small meeting is leaking this stuff to Axios if it's true. A source close to Bongino is saying he ain't coming back.
Well, Martha, this clearly has been bubbling up over the past few days, but now spilling out into the public between Attorney General Pam Bondi and the Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino. He took the day off today from work, we're told, because he's so upset about the rollout of the Epstein memo that DOJ released earlier this week. 2 sources familiar with the meeting say both were at the White House on Wednesday to discuss a unity path forward with the Trump administration following criticism from the Trump base about a DOJ memo out earlier this week that insisted Jeffrey Epstein's client list never existed and he committed suicide. Now, this after Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel and Bongino for months said Epstein information would indeed be released in some form. Bongino apparently was so upset, again, he did not come to work. One source says they haven't seen him since Wednesday at work, and he may end up resigning. He was critical of the Bureau as a podcast host before being named Deputy FBI Director. As for Bondi, she's close with President Trump, has been for years. I asked the White House if the president is happy with the Attorney General. I'm told yes, he is. Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, says the president is proud of the Attorney General's efforts to execute his Make America Safe Again agenda, restore the integrity of the DOJ, and bring justice to the victims of crime. The continued fixation on sowing division in President Trump's cabinet is baseless and unfounded in reality. That's from Caroline Leavitt. Her deputy, Harrison Fields, says of Bongino and Mr. Patel, the FBI director, the president has assembled a highly qualified and experienced law and order team dedicated to protecting Americans, holding criminals accountable, and delivering justice to victims. This work is being carried out seamlessly with unity. Any attempt to sow division within this team is baseless and a distraction from the progress being made in the public safety and pursuing justice for all.
Ladies, I don't understand how we have someone convicted for 20 years and there's nothing there. I would like to know exactly what Dan Bongino was upset about, because I played earlier him saying that there's nothing there, at least as of when he was looking at it, which was in May. Did he find something? He was really upset with the memo that they put out that there's nothing to see here. I would like to know what he is upset about. Why are you upset, Dan Bongino? What are you mad about? Because it doesn't make sense for him to agree with her, Kash Patel to agree with her, but then get mad about something. Something in that memo bothered him, And I don't know if it was that there's no client list. Like, I just need to know more. But now you have really big influencers like Tim Pool. I'm gonna show Glenn Beck. We're gonna see what else do I have? A few other people. It's now turning into a pick a side type of thing, and I'm like, what are we doing here? Why do we have to pick a side? What really happened? Why is Bongino mad?
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Bongino might quit the FBI. Now, I don't know anything. I'm just some guy sitting here and I saw this tweet. I got some phone calls to make, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, let's go. The simple version. The Epstein story has been botched to such a degree that Dan Bongino is upset over what Pam Bondi has done. And Cash is also upset. They were not consulted on these moves, and now they are pissed. Dan Bongino reported taking the day off, might not even come back to the job. Listen, I have told you this. When Dan Bongino took that job, I said there are very few people that I actually look up to. And that means a lot for me to say because I'm arrogant. Most of my life, I've seen people and said, I can do it better. And then I saw Dan Bongino. He's sharp, he's talented, he's strong, he's a leader. And he gave it all up, a multi-million-dollar enterprise, something I could never, I don't have the strength to do it, so he could be a public servant. And I said, man, that epitomizes what we should strive to be. Very few living people I would say that about, that I look up to them and what they did. Because again, I'm like this headstrong guy who's like, I know what I'm doing, I'm right, I know what's going on. And then, So I see the greatest skateboarders or puck boys or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I can do it. And then I'm like, I look at Dan. I'm like, man, I could never do that. So when all this Epstein stuff happened, of course, I'm like, man, I don't know. Dan Bongino and Cash are as good as it gets. What is going on? Now, he made the argument yesterday. I was talking to Ian on the uncensored portion of the show, and I said, when I was told that Dan Bongino was compromised, I thought to myself, what earthly thing? And I mean that literally is going to scare Dan Bongino. Maybe, they threatened his family. But I was like, Mike Cernovich was like, no, please. You think the threat? Come on, he knows what that is. And so I'm imagining, like, if Dan Bongino genuinely believes there's nothing here, there's no story, there's no client list, it's all, if he genuinely believes it, as he's seen the evidence, then maybe he's just telling the truth. But if he really believes there is something there and he's lying, what would convince him to lie? And I'm like, so I don't believe he's compromised. And that's why I said earthly. I'm like, dude, if Dan Bongino walked in a room and a guy in a suit said, you're going to do as we tell you or else, Dan's not the guy who's going to be like, oh, no, you've got me. Oh, I'm so sorry. For a six-figure job, he's going to be like, buddy, I can leave this room right now and go back to my career and I can make 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars. I don't need this. He's going to tell him what for. And then I'm like, if it's some strange, family or power structure he's never seen before. Like if a guy walked up and was like, and threatened him, he's like, bro, I don't even know you.
And this is what makes it so confusing and frustrating because it's like, man, this dude really, most people on the right hold him in regard like that. Speaking on Dan Bongino, like what would make him, back to my question, why is he mad? So mad that he's ready to walk off his job that he said was an honor to have. And I think anyone who would be picked as deputy FBI director by a president would be honored to serve. So what is it that made him so mad? I need to know. I need to know because to Tim Pool's point, maybe he believes it. That's fine. But something made him mad. I want to know what that is. This is Glenn Beck.
A comment on what's happening in Washington with Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi. A direct plea to President Trump. Please, President Trump, I know you're not involved at this level. I know that you are busy working on huge, huge projects. But America can't lose Dan Bongino. He has so much credibility. Everybody knows him, loves him. Pam Bondi has created so much doubt and chaos in this whole thing. There's no reason for all of this. Either it's a massive cover-up or she's just fouled this up every single time. Please, let's not lose Dan Bongino. If there's a choice, I hope not, but please, fire Pam Bondi. Keep Dan Bongino. Please.
I don't know that there needs to be that option. I don't know if Trump's going to be willing to make that. I think she would have to resign. Glenn Beck, I used to really like him. Very articulate guy. Seems like a genuinely nice guy, but he's a Republican. He's a Zionist Republican. He was not a fan of Trump in the beginning for a while, for a long time. Actually, not until his term started. So we'll take his opinion with a grain of salt. But Bannon is MAGA. And this dude is one of the framers of Make America Great Again.
Cash Patel is being reported that Cash Patel has notified that if Dan Bongino resigns because of Pam Bondi's mishandling, of which he's now publicly saying is Pam Bondi's mishandling of the Epstein files, that he, Cash Patel, will step down as director of the FBI.
All right. So now what are we doing? Like, what are we? So now we have Cash Patel supposedly saying if Bongino goes, I go. That's insanity. What is Bongino so mad about? I think that's the core question of all of this. Because if it's just about, well, you weren't supposed to go roll this out till next week, it's not a big deal. But I don't see him as the type who would throw a hissy fit like this. I think something was left out. I don't think so, Paul, because he's been calling for the release of it non-stop. I mean, since as far back as I can remember, when he got out of prison, and I think shortly before he went to prison, he's been calling for the release. So I don't think so. We don't know. I would love to know.
To follow Dan. If I can just give you the way I think the system works, right? I assume that Dan and Cash got some sign off before they made those statements, right? I don't think those are random statements. Here's why why do you think there's movement right now? Is there movement from this afternoon, from yesterday? You agree that there's movement? You can see movement? You know why there's movement? No, special prosecutor. You've raised the stakes and said, we want a special prosecutor. We won't take anything else. We want to directly report to the United States. And now you're seeing the machinery starting to work. Well, upon further review, right? So do you guys still want a special prosecutor? Do you want you don't want Dan and Cash to resign, right?
I think that's the only way out of this. Special prosecutor. Now you got to find the right guy. But I think that's the way to go. Because a special prosecutor can look into everything. Everything. I have no issue with tax dollars going into a special investigator looking into all of this stuff. Because hearing Cash Patel say he didn't know basic things was like, okay, so he's only looking at what somebody else gave him. He's not looking for anything. And that's a flaw. And he admitted he had preconceived notions on it. There's no way this could have happened. Okay, if you're going in closed-minded like that, you're going to bias your own conclusion. You're just going to confirm what you already believe. Special investigator would be phenomenal. I don't know who they could list, the name for that position, but I think that it's needed. I really do think that it's needed.
It's Bongino or Bondi? He's not
Who
saying...
would you guys prefer, Bongino or Bondi? Okay, 7,000 to 0.
They want Dan. Of course, Dan. You know why? Because Dan understands MAGA. Dan's part of the MAGA movement. Dan's been an important piece of it and a mouthpiece for like really important ideas and an advocate and a fierce warrior. He's been in the trenches. I mean, with all due respect to Pam Bondi, she's been in Florida. She represented the president. It's nice. But do you think she really gets MAGA? I don't think so. She wouldn't have behaved this way if she did. And now it's a time for choosing. It's a time for choosing.
And this very well may be true. But to Vibe in My Lane's point, that would be phenomenal. Because Gates will prosecute everything. They've tried to set this man up. They've tried to ruin him. They've lied on him. There's proof that they lied on him, and then they use the lies to get him out, to make him step aside. I would absolutely love to see that vibe in my lane. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. He should have honestly been our AG anyway.
I think the real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of intel services, probably not American.
Here we go.
And we have every right to ask, on whose behalf was he working? How does a guy go from being a math teacher at the Dalton School in the late 70s with no college degree to having multiple airplanes, a private island, and the largest residential house in Manhattan?
I played my last live, went over Tucker Carlson's interview with Ted Cruz, and he just asks questions. He asks questions that may be uncomfortable, but they are legitimate questions. People may not like them because of the implications, but it doesn't mean you can't ask the question. So he's going to bring up Israel. And I think it's fair to ask.
Where did all the money come from? And no one has ever gotten to the bottom of that because no one has ever tried. And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with saying that. There is nothing hateful about saying that. There's nothing anti-Semitic about saying that. There's nothing even anti-Israel about saying that. I've spent my entire life pretty much in Washington, where I knew and loved a number of people, including one very close person who worked at CIA. That has never prohibited me from saying, I think the CIA has done some horrible things, murdered a bunch of people, participated in the murder of a sitting US president. It's got a whole trail of crimes. That doesn't make me a disloyal American. It doesn't make me anti-American in any sense. I was born here. My family's been here for hundreds of years. I love this country. That's why I live here. So criticizing the behavior of a government agency does not make you a hater. It makes you a free person. It makes you a citizen. You're allowed to do that because you're not a slave. You're a citizen. And you have a right to expect that your government will not act against your interests, and you have a right to demand that foreign governments not be allowed to act against your interest. That's not creepy. It shouldn't be forbidden. And yet all of us have trained ourselves to believe that you can't say that somehow, that that's like too naughty and forbidden. And the effect of making that off limits has been to create a lot of resentment, and I'll say it, hate online, where people feel like they can't just say, like, what the hell is this? You have the former Israeli prime minister living in your house. You have had all this contact with the foreign government. Were you working on behalf of Mossad? Were you running a blackmail operation on behalf of a foreign government? By the way, every single person in Washington, D.C. thinks that. I've never met anyone who doesn't think that.
Man.
I don't know any of them that hate Israel, but no one feels they can say that. Why? And I think the longer that we play along with it, the more subterranean and creepy and hateful the conversation actually becomes. So I think it's better just to say it right out loud. Did this happen? And of course, that question has been asked to the government of Israel, and their answer is, we're not going to tell you. And I think our answer should be, no. As long as we're sending you money, if you were committing crimes on our soil, we have an absolute right to know, did you do this or not? And yet everybody has been so brainwashed into thinking that's somehow an expression of hate or bigotry, when it's not. It's a baseline question that every U.S. citizen has a right to an answer on. What the hell was this?
The deputy.
And I think that it's so important, because when you start just throwing out, you're racist, you're a bigot, you're this, you're that. This is what we've been fighting against for years. When I say we, I mean people on the right from people on the left, because that's what they do. And to see the right doing it now, if you haven't seen what I went over between Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson, it's incredible watching, as every time Ted Cruz got uncomfortable, he would accuse Tucker Carlson of something, and he would throw out a liberal type of smear and try to make him defend that he's not that. Oh, it sounds like you're an anti-Semite. Like, okay, how am I going to defend myself against that? Like that, and he just kept doing it. So it's really uncomfortable to watch, because this is a guy on the right, and why are you doing that? Tucker's right. We have a right to ask. Who did he work for? He's not there now. He's gone. We have a right to know now. Why can't they release that information for us? How did he get that deal that he got to get off after being charged with minor SAs? How did he get off? And we know that he got away with something because actually it's coming up here. It's going to be the last thing said on here. It's like a mic drop. I think Trump knows that there was a coup in this country. This is obviously speculation. I'm giving my opinion here, obviously. But I think the CIA had a hand on it, a big hand in it. I know the mafia had a hand in it, and I believe Israel had a hand in it. And I think they're scared to release that because the American people will know since the 60s and 70s, we had a coup happen in this country, and the government was able to successfully cover it up for decades, all the way through to 2025. It's one of those things that they just don't want to admit because it shows that there is a huge flaw in the system. The flaw in the system is that there is an agency out there that is more powerful than the president himself because they were able to take out a president. We watched Trump. We watched 2 attempts on his life during an election, mid-election season. We watched him get shot. And it's like, nothing came of it. We still don't know how that happened, how it was able to be done. We know nothing about the kid who did it. I say kid, but I think he was in his late 20s. To me, that's a kid. He had no social media presence at all. At that age, in 2025, no social media presence. His home was swept clean. We know nothing about him. We know he worked for, I think it was the CIA. I think he did something for the CIA. I don't remember exactly what it was. This just happened in 2024. We know nothing about it. So to look back to JFK and know that they were actually successful with something, it's worrisome. It's scary to think about, which is why you came to this conclusion that somebody said that they'd never seen him scared. They don't know. He found out there was a coup, and he probably could not wrap his mind around something like that happening. Even though within all the files that we know of, we know the involvement was there. We know it. They just don't want to admit to it because they've been lying for so long. Before they used to say, oh, well, we want to protect our the people who were involved and methods and all that stuff. You can't say that anymore. Those people aren't alive anymore. The agency is, and it's stronger than ever, and it's got more employees than ever. So what do? You allow that agency to continue? I say release the information, completely restructure the CIA and the FBI. CIA is not supposed to be operating on U.S. territory, or not on territory. They're not supposed to be operating on U.S. soil at all. They're supposed to be for external threats. Why did they have any role in January 6th? Why did they have any role in JFK? They should have had no role in it. They don't want to release it. I say release it, restructure that entire agency, create extreme oversight for them. Don't allow NGOs to funnel money to do black ops like they do now. It's not that difficult, but it creates a huge problem because that agency is more powerful than the president himself.
The AG pushed back on reports of internal strife, posting, quote, I worked closely with the FBI director and deputy director on the joint FBI and DOJ memo regarding the Epstein files. All of us signed off on the contents of the memo and the conclusions stated in the memo. The suggestion by anyone that there was any daylight between the FBI and the DOJ leadership on this memo's composition and release is patently false. While Bongino's next move is unclear, sources tell Fox News Digital Bondi and Patel, Kash Patel, the FBI director, both have no intention of stepping down, guys.
All right, Chanley, thank you. And of course, this case goes back a ways where you have Jeffrey Epstein, who originally, back in the earlier teens, gets a sweetheart deal, or actually it was the late aughts, I think, gets a sweetheart deal with federal prosecutors. They clearly knew a whole lot about what he was up to with the Lolita Express and his island in the Caribbean, and managed to get a sweetheart deal. Powerful people in powerful places, a lot of money, which leads to lots and lots of very legitimate and serious questions about how he wasn't jailed earlier for some of just the things that we do know about now.
Right, and the former Trump administration
Listen to this.
Official Acosta said that he was told to back off of Epstein, that he belonged to us, meaning the American intel agencies.
I mean, yeah, a former official said that he was told he belonged to us. Back off. Stop looking into him. Where do you go from there? It's that, I mean, you think Dan Bongino and Cash Patel questioned Acosta? I don't think so. Hey, who approached you? Exactly who? I want to talk to him. They didn't look as far as they can look. Clearly, they didn't. How can I come up with that question, but nobody else has? Who am I? I'm just some guy saying something about some things. To me, I think that's a very simple thing to do. This guy said this happened to him. Show up. Or just call him in. Say, hey, I want to talk to you. Can you meet me at my office? Cool. When he gets there, who told you to back off of Epstein? That can go down a whole path on its own. That can go down a whole path of its own, and you can investigate. But if you don't do that, you don't know anything. You don't learn anything new. And I don't think they want to. I genuinely don't think they want to. I'm going to drop this if anybody wants to have their say on this issue. There's nothing more frustrating than watching people you know or not know, people you believed to be really good, strong candidates for a position, and then they just don't do their job. But I need to know what Bongino was upset about, because that's telling to me. That's telling. Why is he upset? What exactly did Pam Bondi do that made you upset? Or are you just using her, as someone earlier said, as a scapegoat? Very possible. You can feign outrage, pretend like you're upset, and then, well, yeah, I didn't like how that was going. But she's gone now. Let's move forward on the bigger and better thing. And you still ignore the issue of Epstein. Special prosecutor, I think, would be phenomenal. If no one's going to come up, I would love to thank Brooklyn Lady Ellie. Welcome. I'm not sure I've seen you in here before, but I appreciate you. Miss Phoenix Rising, as always. Paul Thomas, as always. Thank you. Vibe in my lane. Welcome. Oh, you've been here a ton of times. What am I talking about? Welcome. Mike Nice, thank you, sir, for coming through. Appreciate you. Said Paul Thomas. Vibe in my lane. Thank you. Oh, yeah, I already just said that. TP Perspective was in here. Easy Did It was in here. I appreciate you all. Mel Dub was in here. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you as always. Who else was in here? There was a lot of people in here today. I appreciate you all. Dan Tano was in here. Thank you, sir. As always, appreciate you, man. Let's see. Scroll. You guys were active today. I don't know what it means to have that number one ranked, Brooklyn Lady Ellie, but I appreciate your engagement. SBK was in here. I appreciate you, man. Miss Just J, thank you so much. Appreciate you as always. Free J, welcome back. Free J is free over in the other chats. He was banned for a while. Welcome back, man. Who else? Writers for Life, thank you for stopping in. This is a very, 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 very serious topic, in my opinion, and I'm not going to let it go. Anytime I learn anything, I'm going to put out any information I can. I'll probably do short videos. I think I already said TP. Thank you, sir. I think that's everybody. What you say? 2019, Pam Bondi's net worth was 1.8 million. Now it's almost 20 million. Weird, huh? I don't know. Did she write any books? Did she get any? I don't know. No, that's a good thing. It's awesome. It's really cool. Thank you. Especially because I don't think you've been in here before. So this is the kind of stuff I cover. I will not let up on this topic. I don't like it. I'm gonna put out another video on weirdos alphabet stuff. It's just a clip from one of my old lives, and I'm making a video about Ketanji Brown, Supreme Court Justice. Oh, Jesus. Help us. I'll put that out. That's going to be another short one. It's going to be incredible. Okay, so if she wrote a book, then that explains the extra 1.2 million. It's not that big of a deal. She got that forward. It happens. But I appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Came in on, it was Far Side, Pack the Pipe. Because it seems like everybody in Washington is on crack. And we're going to leave on Outcast, Jazzy Bell. Thank you all again. Appreciate you. Oh, let me make sure I didn't ignore anybody. Nope. Didn't ignore anybody over here. Thank you guys. Appreciate you all. Jazzy Bell. Let me get rid of this. They did change up some things. So I'm so used to clicking places and I kind of get lost. All right. Thank you all. Appreciate you. I'm O Speaks. Subscribe, like, share this one. Go check out my last one so you can see what I was talking about with Tucker. Go check out my auto pen video. I'll probably put that on at the end of this one. So, after the actual live ends, it shows videos coming up or the last two. The auto pen one is serious, man. That lady just said, "Oh yeah, I was allowed to sign off on stuff." She was allowed to sign a president's signature. Just think about it.